Day 2 in the life of David, one of the greatest characters of the entire Bible. And this story specifically is one of the greatest stories of the entire Bible. It is titled The Young Hero and the Horrible Giant, also known as David and Goliath. God's people had some scary enemies, but the Philistines were the scariest of them all. And now the Philistines had come to fight them. The Philistines had a secret weapon called Goliath. Goliath was a terrifying soldier, and worst of all, a giant. Goliath was a terrifying soldier, and worst of all, a giant. A giant so strong and so tall and so scary that no one had ever been able to fight him and live to tell the tale. Ooh. So there they were, the Philistines standing on top of one hill, and God's people standing on top of the other. Every day, Goliath came out and shouted, "Send your best soldier to fight me. If he wins, we'll be your slaves, and if you win, you'll be our slaves." No one spoke, no one moved. "Chickens!" Goliath bellowed. "Your God is so weak, he can't save you. I'll rip your heads off and have you on avocado toast." His beady, greedy eyes glowed at them hungrily from under his horrible helmet, as if any minute he might just really gobble them all up. And his laugh, his terrible laugh, it boomed and echoed horribly across, around and around the dry, dry valley. Well, Goliath might have just as well been a green, slimy monster with 3 heads, because God's people were frozen with fear. They trusted their fear more than they trusted their God. Their eyes glazed over and they turned deathly pale. They knew if someone didn't do something quick, if someone didn't save them, but God would do something, and God would send someone to save them. And who do you think he sent? Now, David was the youngest son of Jesse, and his brothers were soldiers in the army. His oldest, biggest, tallest, strongest brothers, they were all soldiers, and he was smallest, weakest, tiniest of all the brothers. One day, David brought his brothers their lunch, and he saw Goliath. Ho! Whoa! And he saw how scared everyone was. "Don't be afraid," David said. "I'll fight him for you." "But you're only a little shepherd boy," the king said, "and Goliath is a great, big, scary, monstrous soldier. How will you fight him?" "God will help me fight him," David said. So the king gave David his royal armor to wear. But it was too heavy and too big, and David couldn't even walk. "I won't need this," David said. Instead, David picked out 5 smooth stones from the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 smooth stones. And took his slingshot and walked toward Goliath. Step, 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 step. Goliath walked towards David. Thud, thud, thud. "You?" Goliath peered down at the small boy. "I'm little," David shouted up to him, "and you might be bigger than I am, but God is bigger than you are." And Goliath laughed an even terribler laugh than usual. It went. With just one swing of his giant sword, Goliath could have finished off that boy. But David kept going. "It isn't how strong you are or how many words or spears you have that'll save you. It is God who saves you. This is God's battle, and God always wins his battles." David put a stone in his sling and swung it around and let it go. The little stone flew whiz like a bullet through the air and struck Goliath thud right between the eyes. Goliath stopped laughing. And he stumbled and staggered, and crash! He fell defeated. When the Philistines saw Goliath was dead, they ran away. And when God's people saw them running away, they cheered. God had saved his people. David was a hero because he trusted God and obeyed God. Many years later, God would send his people another young hero to fight for them and to save them from a huge, mean, scary giant called sin. But this hero would fight the greatest battle the world had ever known. Everyone loves the story of David and Goliath. My favorite part of the story is the exchange that David and Goliath share on the battlefield. And I actually want to read it out of my Bible, so I'm going to grab that right now, and you guys can hear what the actual Bible says about that. 1 Samuel 18, I believe. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth. 1st and 2nd Samuel. 1 Samuel 16, 17, 18. 1 Samuel 17, 1 Samuel 17, 43 through 47. Listen to the words. Goliath said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll tear you apart and I will destroy you." David said to the Philistine, David was not backing down. He saw how big and scary Goliath was, and he was like, look behind you at who is behind you. God Almighty is going to crush you. You think he'll crush me? No, God's going to crush you. David said to the Philistine, "All you have is a sword and a spear and a javelin. But I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. You made a big mistake, Goliath. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will destroy you and the Philistine army, and the whole world will know there is a God in Israel. And all those gathered here today will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all you into our hands." David and Goliath is more like the story of God versus the things we're afraid of. In life, some terrible things can happen to us, and some scary things can be very scary. And sometimes we'll have to fight the battle, like David. David had to go into battle and actually fight to overcome. But he had the choice of listening to fear or listening to God. And he chose, I'm not going to be afraid of this terrible thing. I trust God. And he knew that God is so big and so powerful and so awesome that when he was going to fight Goliath, he was going to win because God is on his side. Kids, God is also on your side. You have nothing to fear because God is always with us and God always wins. See you guys tomorrow.